Hey there, Yankees fans. Buckle up because today's update is one of those that's going to make you stop whatever you're doing and think, wait, what just happened to this team? It's the kind of news that flips the entire narrative around one of the franchise's most promising young stars. We're talking about Anthony Volpe, the same guy everyone thought would be the shortstop of the future for the next decade. But after the latest information that's come out, that future suddenly looks very uncertain. So let's go through this piece by piece because the details are wild. When Volpe burst onto the scene, it felt like the Yankees had struck gold. His rookie season wasn't perfect, but you could see the potential glowing through every play. The range, the instincts, the quick release. Defensively, he looked like the kind of player who could anchor an infield for years. And offensively, even though the numbers weren't elite, there was just enough pop and patience to believe that with time, he'd put it all together. By the end of that first year, fans are talking about him as the next face of the franchise, the kind of homegrown Yankee who could bring a new energy to the lineup. Fast forward to 2025, though, and the narrative has completely flipped on its head. This past season, Volpe didn't just take a step back. It felt like he fell off a cliff statistically. The most shocking part was his defense, which had been his biggest strength. In 2024, he ranked among the very best shortstops in baseball, putting up one of the top defensive metrics in the game. But in 2025, those numbers imploded. He went from being one of the most reliable gloves in the league to posting one of the worst defensive seasons among qualified infielders. The difference was so drastic that people started wondering if the scouting reports had been wrong all along. How does a player lose that much ground in a single year? Then came the offense, which didn't help his case at all. Watching him at the plate this season was tough. Pitchers attacked him relentlessly, and he couldn't seem to adjust. His batting average dipped to the low 200s, his on-base percentage dropped into uncomfortable territory, and his slugging was far from what you'd expect from someone trying to hold down an everyday job on a contending team. Every at-bat looked like a grind, every swing a reminder of how far things had fallen from the excitement of that rookie campaign. It got to a point where fans started asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud. Is Anthony Volpe really the shortstop of the future, or just another young player who couldn't quite live up to the Bronx pressure? And then, out of nowhere, the bombshell dropped. The reason for the collapse wasn't just bad mechanics or mental fatigue. It was physical. It turns out Volpe had been playing through a serious shoulder injury for most of the season. According to team sources, he tore part of his labrum in late April and kept playing through it. Let that sink in for a second. The guy was out there grinding day after day, trying to fight through pain that would sideline most players for months. At first, nobody knew. The team didn't announce anything, and Volpe himself didn't make excuses. He just kept going, hoping he could power through it. But the more you look at his season splits, the clearer the picture becomes. Before the injury, through the end of April, Volpe actually looked fantastic. His swing was fluid, his timing was on point, and the numbers backed it up. He was hitting the ball hard, getting on base, showing flashes of that electric player we all saw last year. His weighted runs created plus was well above league average, and his glove still looked solid. But after that shoulder problem hit, everything fell apart. His batting average nosedived, the power disappeared, and his defense, the calling card that made him special, became unrecognizable. It wasn't just a slump, it was a physical breakdown. Now, the Yankees have confirmed that Volpe underwent surgery to repair the torn labrum and that he will begin the 2026 season on the injured list. That's huge news because it completely changes how the team approaches the offseason. A shortstop is one of the most critical positions on the field, and you can't just replace that kind of role easily. The Yankees have to ask themselves, do they trust that a fully healthy Volpe can bounce back, or do they start looking for alternatives? And that's where things get tricky, because the market this winter for shortstops is, to put it nicely, thin. There isn't a clear, top-tier option out there, and the internal replacements are all question marks. The front office has to decide whether to double down on patience or hit the panic button. What makes this situation even more frustrating is how preventable some of it feels. If the injury happened in April and his performance dropped immediately afterward, you have to wonder why the team didn't shut him down sooner. Was it the pressure to keep the lineup intact? Was Volpe insisting on playing through it? Or did the front office underestimate how serious it really was? Whatever the reason, letting a young player push through an injury like that may have done long-term damage, not just physically, but also to his development. Instead of building confidence and refining his approach, Volpe spent an entire season trying to play at half strength in one of the most demanding markets in sports. For fans, this news hits hard. Nobody questions Volpe's toughness or his desire to compete. If anything, this story proves that he's got that warrior mentality, the kind of guy who refuses to quit even when his body is screaming at him to stop. But now, the question becomes whether that decision cost him and the team dearly. Because let's be honest, playing hurt didn't help anyone. The Yankees suffered through inconsistent defense up the middle, an offense that couldn't find rhythm, and now they're heading into the new season without clarity at one of the most important spots on the diamond. The ripple effects are enormous. With Volpe out, who steps up? Do the Yankees roll the dice on a prospect? Do they move one of their utility guys into a full-time role? Or do they make a bold trade that shakes up the roster completely? Every path comes with risk. If they commit to Volpe long-term and he doesn't fully recover, they could be stuck in a holding pattern. But if they move on too soon and he returns to form elsewhere, it would be a brutal reminder of how fragile player development can be in New York. And from a front office standpoint, this situation piles even more pressure on Brian Cashman. The Yankees are already facing huge questions across the roster. The rotation is thin, the lineup has holes, and now the infield anchor spot is uncertain. Cashman has to find a way to patch everything together while keeping an eye on the long-term picture. The organization can't afford another misstep, not after several seasons of disappointment and early playoff exits. Every decision this winter will be scrutinized under a microscope, and Volpe's injury has added a brand new layer of complexity to that puzzle. One thing's for sure, the fans won't have much patience. Yankee Stadium crowds can smell weakness a mile away, and they're not shy about making their feelings known. Volpe's story is going to be one of the defining talking points heading into spring training. People will want to see if he's healthy, if the swing looks cleaner, if the shoulder holds up. They'll want reassurance that last season was a fluke, not the start of a downward trend. The front office might say all the right things publicly, but deep down, they know they're walking a tightrope. What's truly fascinating is how quickly the perception around Volpe changed. A year ago, he was the golden boy. Now, he's the subject of debates on whether he can even hold onto his job. That's baseball in New York. One bad year, one injury, and the spotlight shifts from celebration to skepticism. But if there's any silver lining in all this, it's that we finally have an explanation. This wasn't a case of a young player losing confidence or being overhyped. It was a player trying to fight through an injury that most wouldn't have even attempted to play with. That takes heart. And maybe, just maybe, when he's fully healthy again, we'll see the version of Anthony Volpe that everyone fell in love with back in 2024. The kid who played with fearless energy and made every ground ball look effortless. Now that we've unpacked the Volpe situation, let's turn to another critical area for the Yankees, the pitching staff. Because if you thought the infield injury was the only problem, you'd be in for a shock. The Yankees are heading into the offseason with their rotation looking thinner than ever, and the stakes could not be higher. The health of the pitching staff will determine whether this team is even competitive next season or if they're staring down another rebuilding year by stealth. Let's start with the good news. Aaron Judge, the team's captain and one of the faces of the franchise, is set to avoid offseason surgery on his right elbow. That is enormous for the Yankees because Judge's presence in right field and in the lineup is absolutely non-negotiable. There were plenty of moments during the season when his injury, a flexor strain diagnosed back in July, had fans holding their breath. Watching him shift to designated hitter duties later in the season was nerve-wracking. It forced the team to shuffle the outfield in ways that nobody had planned, even moving other key players out of their natural positions. But now, with Judge healthy and expected to return as a full-time outfielder in 2026, the Yankees regain stability in a critical spot, and that's one major worry off the table. But for every piece of good news, there seems to be a serious complication looming. Let's talk about the rotation. Carlos Rodon, one of the Yankees' most promising arms, just underwent a procedure to remove loose bodies from his left elbow. That alone is concerning because he's facing a no-throw period of around 8 weeks. That means he will almost certainly miss the start of the 2026 season. And Rodon is not the only starter sidelined. Garrett Cole, who had Tommy John surgery back in March, will also not be ready for opening day. Clark Schmidt, another rotation arm, had his own Tommy John procedure in July. When you add all of that up, the Yankees' opening day rotation is looking dangerously thin. Right now, the plan appears to be Max Fried, Luis Gil, Cam Schlitzer, and Will Warren. While each of those pitchers has talent, the lack of depth is glaring and raises real questions about how the team will handle stretches against tough opponents or navigate inevitable injuries during the season. This is where the front office will be under enormous pressure. With multiple starters unavailable, the Yankees may have to make aggressive moves this winter in free agency or via trade to fill the rotation. It's not just about having warm bodies on the mound. They need quality arms capable of keeping the team competitive and giving the offense a chance to win games. And when you consider how tightly the playoff race in the American League tends to be, even a small weakness in the rotation can have huge ramifications. The team can't afford to roll the dice on inexperience when a championship window is still considered open. The connection to Volpe's injury makes all of this even more delicate. The Yankees now have 2 major holes: a critical infielder who anchors the middle of the field, and a rotation missing key starters. This creates a dilemma that requires careful planning. Do they focus resources on replacing Volpe's defensive presence, or do they prioritize pitching depth? The answer, of course, is probably both, but it is easier said than done. Each move requires either giving up prospects, spending significant payroll, or gambling on unproven players. There's no magic formula here. Only tough choices that will shape the roster for years to come. And the stakes for Judge make the pitching situation even more important. He's a player who can carry a lineup, but even the greatest hitters in the world need pitchers to give them opportunities to win games consistently. If the rotation falters early in the season, it puts added pressure on Judge and the rest of the offense to overperform just to keep the team afloat. That's not a sustainable path for a franchise that has championship aspirations and a fan base that demands results every year. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. In what could be the blockbuster move of the offseason, whispers around the baseball world suggest that the New York Yankees are closing in on signing ace pitcher Corbin Burnes. While nothing has been officially confirmed, sources hint that the Bronx Bombers are ready to offer a deal that could reshape their starting rotation and send shockwaves through the American League. Burnes, the Milwaukee Brewers' star right-hander, has been one of the most dominant pitchers in recent seasons. Known for his devastating changeup and pinpoint control, the 29-year-old has consistently ranked among the league leaders in strikeouts per 9 innings and whip. Rumors suggest the Yankees are not just interested. They are determined to make him the anchor of a rotation that has long sought consistency beyond Garrett Cole. The buzz began quietly at first, with insiders noting increased contact between Burnes' camp and the Yankees' front office. Social media quickly caught fire, with fans speculating over cryptic posts and subtle hints dropped by team executives. Some sources even claim the Yankees have prepared a package of incentives and a contract that could make Burnes one of the highest-paid pitchers in the league. While details remain murky, the sense of urgency is palpable. New York wants dominance, and they are willing to spend to get it. If the deal goes through, it would mark a major statement for a franchise always in pursuit of the World Series. Analysts are already speculating how Burnes' presence could change the dynamics of the AL East, potentially turning the Yankees' pitching staff into one of the most feared in baseball. Imagine Burnes joining a rotation featuring Cole and Nestor Cortes Jr. Opposing hitters might need more than just a scouting report. They might need a prayer. Of course, rival teams are watching closely. The whispers around the league hint at other suitors quietly evaluating their options, but the Yankees appear to be leading the charge. In a town that thrives on headlines and speculation, This story has all the makings of an off-season saga that could dominate sports talk until opening day. Whether it's smoke or fire, one thing is clear. If Corbin Burnes ends up in pinstripes, New York's pitching dominance could be next level. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.